Hi, this is Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart, and today is Wednesday, March 8th. It's a little bit before, about 10 minutes before the market opens, and I wanted to go over some of the stocks that are scheduled to report earnings today. Now, this may be after the bell. Some of these are before the bell, some are after the bell. And I wanted to do this video twofold. First and foremost, just I went through every company scheduled to report, or at least the bulk of those companies, and whittled it down to just about I don't know, looks like maybe half a dozen and a half or so stocks that stand out to me. And so I wanted to share those as potential trade setups. A lot of swing traders, as a rule, will close their positions before earnings because earnings have when a stock reports earnings, there's a decent chance that stock can gap either for or against your position. And some swing traders don't want to take the risk. To me, I've talked about this in the past. It depends on a lot of factors. It depends on the history of that stock. Does it have a history prone to large gaps? Look at XENON Corp, for example. I didn't put the earnings markers up on this chart, but I have to imagine a lot of these big gaps you can see here are earnings-induced gaps. And so therefore, here's a stock with a history of big earnings-induced gaps. And therefore, if you were long this one, you might want to close that position out, or you may have wanted to before. Again, I have to check if XENON is before or after the bell. Actually, it looks like it's going to be before the open, so let's see what's happening in pre-market. Okay, I just checked on another monitor that I have streaming quotes, with the pre-market trades, and as expected, this one gapped down. And this is the two parts to this video that I wanted to cover: A, show you some potential setups; B, make a point that some traders close positions out. I'll assess each stock again. What's the earnings history? Is it a stock that's prone to gaps or very little surprises? Because some companies do a heck of a job at managing expectations with the analysts, and so therefore you have little surprises. And then the other factor is, how close am I to a price target? Let's say I'm in a swing trade that I've been in for a month or more, and it is very close to my final target. In that case, I may as well close it. I already have profits. But if I'm in the same instance, if I'm in a swing trade that's been in there for a few weeks or a few months, and I might be at my first target, but I'm holding out for my third and final target, I'll let it ride, especially if the chart patterns still look bearish. And that is the second part of this video I wanted to talk about. It's been my experience that more often than not, and again, that doesn't mean always, but more often than not, a stock will gap, or within the next week or so, the next big move following earnings will move in the direction that the charts indicate. So we're looking at XENON, and this is a clearly bearish chart to me, and this is why I wanted to share this. And then there's really a third benefit to this video that you might take away, is that as I'm going through these names, all of these stocks are scheduled to report today, either before or after the bell. Occasionally some companies, but I don't see any today that report during the market hours. Sometimes you have a company do that, but we'll have these earnings out of the way. So therefore, these are trades that if you like these, you can take these trades. You can wait till earnings is out of the way. Earnings are out of the way, I should say, and then establish a position. So with XENON, we're looking at a very clean bearish rising wedge, negative divergence you see down here on the PPO, the RSI. You can see the bearish rising wedge up there. And so my expectation is for a breakdown of XENON. And although I haven't put every target level, I should add one right here. There's certainly support right here to watch, and that level is at 25.14 or so. But my expectation is for a minimum move. If this rising wedge breaks down, 23.55 is the next support, and we could even go below that. I can certainly see another target down here. So this one may or may not become a trade idea. And as I talk, it shot down to a low of 24.81, so that would have put it below this support line and below the wedge in pre-market. And it's currently trading, let's see, looks about 25.35 or 25.34. So it's going to open just above this, at this point, just above this level here. So that might put us below the wedge. But when trading, if I have two support levels, so a trend line or bottom of a wedge is certainly support, and probably a very significant support, undoubtedly a very significant support. However, this is a substantial horizontal price support level. You can see reactions going back at least all the way back here to late 2015, numerous reactions here. So I don't short a breakdown of a wedge if there's decent support just below, because the stock may prove to be a false breakdown. However, if XENON can't maintain 25.14 or a few cents below that by the close, or it moves impulsively down through there today after the open, then that one's probably going to go. So there's one. And again, some of these may become official trade ideas, but if not, my job is to just, there's so much out there, and 90% of what I post on the site, both on the front page and in the trading room especially, are unofficial trade ideas, and they've actually done very well this year. They've actually, as a whole, outperformed the official trade ideas. Official trade ideas have been very light this year. So here's a bullish chart pattern. This is a company is CMTL, Comtech, telecommunications. Here's a bullish divergent low. This is very strong bullish divergence at the low. The stock has bottomed since then, and so what I see when I look at this chart, I see a basing range, a basing pattern here, this whole range here, and I also see this yellow downtrend line right here to clear. Very well-defined downtrend line. So this one is bullish, and let's see if I can see, I don't know. Again, I didn't scrub this. I just looked at a list last night, quickly jotted down ones that report today. So this one might report after the bell. I don't see any movement in pre-market right now. That also could be a function of maybe relatively low volume on this stock. So either way, what you have here is you can go long and pull back to support because they already put in a divergent low. Again, wait till the earnings are out of the way. There's no point in taking a stock right in front of earnings if you don't have a position. But these are chart patterns that could pop. So if this one takes out this level, you can see there's a target up here around 13. That level's 13.79, and then a big gap to fill. And even then, this is a thin zone. You have a gap, which is by nature a very thin zone because there are no trades. This is the gap right here. And then above that, you have an additional thin zone, meaning there's very few trades that occur between this point right here, sorry, clicked the wrong thing, this point and this point. You had a little meltdown move, but you had all your support here. So this one has a possibility. If it breaks above this yellow uptrend line, my expectation would be something like this. Move up, hit the bottom of that thin zone or the gap right there. Maybe a pullback, possibly a back test of that line, maybe, maybe not. But ultimately, I'd expect a move to power on through here and see a relatively quick backfill. These thin zones are backfilled very relatively quickly. That doesn't mean a day. It could be a day, but more than likely it just means a pretty rapid advance because there's very little, if any, resistance. There's no resistance above where the gap is. There's just a very little bit of resistance there. So I like that one as a long. But again, let's see what happens with earnings. If they crap out, and it can destroy this chart pattern and take out the previous lows, and then I don't like it so much. All right, so next one up, CSTM. CSTM, clearly bearish pattern, bearish rising wedge. Prices are right at the bottom of the wedge, negative divergence. And I'd have to put, so there's a couple near-term price targets. I'll go through these a little quicker, and then we'll wait till, I'll do a follow-up video, see how these played out after today to make that point. Watt, here's looks like a potential double top pattern. A double top pattern, you have this, there's really three tags here, but they're in close proximity, so I'll call that one, essentially one hit. The stock in that period had problems or ran into resistance there at that upper line. So this is your double top, the base, if you will, or the range of the double top pattern. And to calculate the move, you just take the width of the double top pattern, and then you add that to where it breaks down, and that comes in right about where my price target would be. So this one I'm looking as a potential bearish candidate. We also had a divergent high. I didn't mark it here, but at the when the double top began. So here's one that could open to the downside. I'm sorry, close the day, especially after today. Again, some of these report after the bell, so just one to watch. And next up, ERII. There's a bullish falling wedge pattern, bullish divergences. That did follow, I do have to point out, a very strong divergent high. This is longer standing, very powerful negative divergence, as you can see, which led up to the high. Now that has played out for a correction so far, but at this point we've come down to support. This line here is support. And you have a bullish falling wedge, so there's one to watch as well. Energy Recovery Inc, ERII. EVOK next up. This one looks to be working its way up within a bearish rising wedge. We had recently a divergent low, so like I say, these divergences often play out. In this case, you didn't have divergence on the RSI, but you had an extreme oversold reading, so that's bullish in itself. Stocks can only become so oversold, and that led to a healthy reversal and a rally so far of about 227%. However, it's walking its way up this trend line right now. It has negative divergence in place. As it looks like it's down now. Well, it looks like it's up. It's right on that trend line. So again, we'll have to see how this one finishes the day, or even trades into tomorrow. Again, guys, some of these report after the bell, and I haven't scrubbed that. EXPR. Well, this one was here today. The market's now opened, and obviously, I was showing you this bearish rising wedge. I'm sorry, bullish falling wedge, which had room to go. Now, this one's interesting. You're right at the bottom of the bullish falling wedge. Another one I was going to get to today. Do I have that one now? But I do have an alert, so let's check Symantec. This one, watch it. It looks like it's just flirting with that trend line. I'll have to move that a little bit. I had a price alert. I just wanted to check that to see if it was a potential trade opportunity. Okay, back to where I was. I think, what was I on? CSTM? No. EVOK. Sorry, can't remember where I was. We did EVOK, EXPR. Yeah, okay, Express. So this is a potential long entry here. Here's a nice bullish falling wedge, very large, divergent low. We're at the bottom of the wedge now. However, we need to see if that holds because this could extend out. These divergences could continue. In other words, here's your divergence line, and we may come down and put in a second divergent low at a lower level. But if it does reverse here, you're reversing off the bottom of a potential wedge pattern. And that could be a long, just one to watch longer term. And again, I'll follow up on these. If any of these charts begin to firm up to the point where I think they're look very compelling, we'll put them on as official trade ideas. EXTN, Xterin Corp, we had a fairly well-defined uptrend line, price channel, a breakdown back test, and it's flirting on horizontal support right here around 29.17. And if that level goes, there's really nothing. It's pretty thin down here till price alerts going off like crazy today, guys. GTT. Let's see if that's one of the ones I was going to cover today. Yes, it was. So we'll jump ahead to that. Okay, here's another one that I had on my earnings list today. They must not have liked it so far, and it's breaking this uptrend line. I had an uptrend line 1, 2. It had a third reaction yesterday, and well, we're right on the line now. So we'll have to see. Again, as I said, don't always jump the gun on these initial reactions. Earnings, you have whippy behavior, especially in pre-market trading. So therefore, you get these gaps that open, and sometimes, it's often the retail investors moving things around in the pre-market, and then the institutions, when the liquidity comes in, when the markets are open, then the institutions step in and buy or sell. So gaps can be faded, and we'll see how this one closes. So, all right, back to, I think I was on EXTN. Sorry for the back and forth. I should have started this video before the market opened, but I had a couple things to do today. EXTN, there it is. So that's one to watch for a break of that level. Certainly looks like a bearish pattern. We just put in that divergent high at this point. Backtest breakdown, and that would be a target. And if that fails, it gets pretty thin all the way down to here. FLKS. Flex Pharma. Here's a bullish falling wedge, nice bullish or positive divergence at the lows. It broke out recently, but it broke out just in front of earnings. It had a big run up the other day. So this one, what I'd like to see, and it gave up a lot of that. So far, that was a false breakout. I don't blame it. You shouldn't really take a breakout a day or two before earnings. So it was a technical breakout, probably news event, a news-driven catalyst. This is a biotech company, so maybe some clinical data on one of their drugs and clinical trials. Positive, obviously, possibly. I'm making an assumption here because there was a big move the other day, but then that move was faded. It actually followed through on the second day and then faded. So maybe a back test of this wedge, and that might be an objective entry for a trade up to this level. I'd expect a reaction there, and then ultimately this one might push up to there. That would be your next target. FLKS, that is Flex Pharma. Okay, next up. GTT, I just covered. I'll look at that again. It's holding the line so far. Not sure if they reported this morning or not. HYGS. This one has some work to do, but there's some divergence setting up, bullish divergence. Now we had bullish divergence at that low, and it did play out so far for a very strong rally, all the way up to that downtrend line's pulled back. So this is one longer term. Really, I'm not expecting anything to happen here anytime soon. It's a pretty wide range, and we got pretty overbought just to get up to that trend line. So a pullback was to be expected, and it might need to come back in more. So that one I probably shouldn't have even circled that one in. Just revisit it later, put on my watch list, and kept an eye on it. I typed in the wrong symbol here, but I am watching this one, keys. Look at that rising wedge, negative divergence. I have a trend line alert set, but that's not an earnings play. This one is. I meant to type in key W. This one, key W holdings. You had this rising wedge right here, breakdown, back test, and a boom, big gap down. There's some pretty well-defined levels, but this is the lifeline, if you will, for this stock. This is what I consider pretty critical support, about 948. A lot of reactions there. If it breaks that, then it's probably headed a lot lower, so one to watch. Next one up, LH. I can't read my own handwriting. CG. Looks like an ascending, broadening wedge pattern. We're right on the line there. That's a bearish pattern, negative divergence, at least on the PPO. A little tough on price targets. I would certainly put the first target right here. That's about 46.39. So put your cover order a little bit above that, buy to cover. And again, we'll see how this one plays out in the next day or two. All right, next up, MGPI. MGPI has been walking up this uptrend line for a long time now. We had a divergent high right here. Must have had a positive earnings report this morning is my guess. It's up 8.19%. But I'm still, if I don't have an alert up, I already do. I have an alert set. I think it's a matter of time. May want to work its way up within this wedge a little more. But any new high would be a divergent high as well. So this is, again, just a stock that I keep on my radar. I certainly wouldn't short it here. You don't have any sell signals and it's in an uptrend. But let's just say it does go on to make a marginal new high like that. Doing so, you'd have negative divergence here. You can see that the RSI and the PPO are not keeping up. So therefore, if they turn down, if the stock turned down there, it would go on most likely to break this uptrend line and have a little zigs and zags along the way, but ultimately I think it's coming back down to the $34-ish area there. MGPI, that is. All right, next up, OMEI. Almost done here, guys. Just a couple more. That's not it. OMEI. Let me pause. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's OMEP. I had circled these. OMEP. Nope. Okay, here it is. OMED. I had a circle right through the D and I couldn't see. It looked like an I. All right, OMED. Interesting chart. Again, this one, as you can see, clearly bullish chart. I did all these charts last night. Bullish falling wedge pattern, strong bullish positive divergence at the lows right here. Had a strong breakout on increased volume. I have the volume bars turned down there, but I can tell you the volume was definitely above average there. But it came back in to make a back test. So yesterday was a perfect time. And now I don't know if it reported. I'll have to check. If it reported and earnings are out of the way, then this one's good to go because you had a successful back test. It's up 2.27%. However, I'll have to check to see if that opens, or I'm sorry, if that reports after the bell tonight. You know what I can tell you right now? Let me look. I have another screen up. OMED. Yes, it is after the close, so you'll just have to hold off. Don't jump the gun now. You'd be premature because that one's going to report after the bell. Probably should have done that with all these. I have another monitor up with a different thing to tell if these report before or after the bell. SMTC, I think I already covered that one because I had a price alert, but we're dancing on the line. SMTC reports after the bell, Symantec, so we won't know anything until later today. Just to get back to it, I think it's pretty clear. You can see where I think this one's, ultimately headed. And again, I don't care what it does tomorrow at the open within the next couple days, but it wouldn't surprise me to see a gap down below this pattern Each and any of these are targets. My preference right now, if you were to short this on a break of this minor uptrend line, you have a first target there at 30.87. I wouldn't even bother covering. I think this one's coming back into at least a $28 level if and when this pattern breaks down. And I do think it's going to break down. This is a clearly bearish chart pattern to me. But don't short in front of earnings. It just doesn't make sense. Earnings can go either way. TECD, the bearish rising wedge pattern. This one probably already reported. Yes, it did, and you can see down 5%. So again, this reinforces a theory. I've started this video before the open, but you can see the majority of the stocks that have reported. If the patterns are clearly bearish, this one's getting towards the end of the apex of a bearish rising wedge, clear negative divergence. Look how perfect the PPO keeps turning down here at each of these levels. When I did this last night, this was still pointed up. Now you can see if you zoom in, the PPO is curling down because of this big move down. We're down about 5% today. So this one I expect over time, maybe a thrust up, another tag at that level, but I expect it to go on and break the wedge and come down back here to the $80 level. How much is that even from where it is today? 1037. If you were, some people take trades in front of earnings, and I've been known to do that. If I have a strong suspicion, if the chart is clearly bearish, and I'm suspecting a gap down or a breakdown below the pattern, you could have shorted there. You'd already be up 5%, and that would be, if it gets down to that target, that's about a 15% gain. But I'll make it clear, I don't have any position in these stocks, but I may after today, or even during the market hours on those that are already reported. TTPH, nothing major, just a little basing pattern to watch here. You want to see a convincing break. It's limped above the top of this. This is a pretty strong base that it's been forming here. If it takes out the bottom of that base, it can move all the way up here, and that would be a pretty big move. I believe, it's a biotech or a drug manufacturer, so that would be more than a double on your money if it gets up there. So again, just one to keep an eye on. And finally, two more, UNFI. We had this uptrend line here. This is UNFI, United Natural Foods. Pretty well-defined uptrend line. Prices broke down, so that's bearish. You have a breakdown. I added this minor downtrend line because we may pop up through there. If we do pop up through there, odds are we're looking at a back test of the uptrend line and then maybe a reversal and maybe a move down here to this target around 39, a little below $39. And the last one, XENON Pharmaceuticals. Looks like it's just tapping above this this level here. You can see a lot of reactions off this line, and that is about 853, give or take. It punched up through there recently, but again, in my opinion, it would have been unwise to take this breakout. First of all, it failed. I mean, in hindsight, I can say that. That's pretty clear. But it's right in front of earnings. This one is scheduled to report. Did it report before the bell? XENON. You know what? I'm not seeing it on. I got the list last night off one source that didn't show whether they reported before or after. And I'm looking at briefing.com. Okay, I can't tell you when or even if it is reporting because Briefing doesn't have it listed as reporting today. But either way, still one to watch for that pattern. All right, this has been Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart. As I said, I'll any of these that stand out, I'll follow up on, and some of these may be official trade ideas. But of course, as always, if you like what you see, any of these patterns, replicate the charts. And if you have any questions on it, drop me a line in the trading room, and I'll be glad to put up a static chart for you with some firm price targets. Have a great day.